Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript Party here, and I am working on some 3JS. I wish it was actually 3JS. It's like I'm really more working on Angular and data manipulation and things like that. So, anyways, I have this application that I've built, and I was trying to make sure that I don't end up creating, like, the intention of this application is to be run over, like, someone to use it and spend hours and hours and hours at it. So I really can't afford to have um, memory leaks. So most applications I've ever worked on, well, I've never worked on an application where we worried about memory leaks. Every application I've ever worked on that gets used over hours, just it's the same thing. Everyone says, "Oh well, when it gets slow and starts getting wonky, just reload the page or kill your browser and start the browser up again." And that is a classic memory leak issue, which is really not that big of a deal in most cases, like especially if like whatever you're working on has a lot of like saves to server. So that means that you don't really lose a lot when if you have to restart or whatever. But this is different because this one I don't want to have saves to the server. I mean, I don't really have a reason not to. I just don't want to invest the effort into it, and I don't want to. And I want people to be able to work on something for hours and hours on end without it crashing or getting really slow or whatever. So that is, I really don't want memory leaks. So as you see right now, we do not have any um, data. Let's see, is this working at all? What's going on? I think maybe my whole. Oh, that was weird. Okay, so hit back. Okay, I don't know. I don't even know what's happening here. Up here. All right, so we're gonna go to 3, and as you can see, we can add a new visualization. And then if you go to this view here, you can delete that visualization. And then if you hit back, they're both gone. They're both to 0. It was not like that yesterday. So today, the next step is to start digging into materials. Now let's go look at the materials, the ThreeJS Material Service. It's something I really, really regret, and I remember going back and forth about this and choosing to not name it 3 materials. I really wish I'd have named my services 3 in retrospect. So as you can see, this is our 3 material service, and as you can see, there is no delete. So obviously we have a delete problem. So we have a lot of steps in front of us. So the first step is, and we did a pretty good job with comments over here of sort of kind of describing what we're doing. So first thing is, it looks like we have this phone with a hash, and that means that we have a dictionary hash. So I'm guessing that that other one does not have I know it doesn't have a hash because we were just looking at it, and that is the materials. So the materials does not have a hash, and it doesn't have a delete. So first step, I guess, is to give it a hash. So it is kind of interesting because I never thought about it, but the way you decide to write out code and set up comments and stuff sort of dictates how you're going to do the next amount, like the order that you're going to do work in the future if you have like this sort of situation. And this sort of situation, what we're really doing is we're starting to kind of create a boilerplate, which honestly I think is everyone tries to skip that whole boilerplate stage. But like once you've created a boilerplate, then if you have a lot of discipline and you see that it's going to be used a lot, like all the time, then you can abstract those things away because you have a bunch of examples. But if you haven't actually built at it, done any implementations, and then you start trying to do your abstractions, you're going to really have you start trying to figure out like, oh, okay, what are these groupings of? So like to me, an abstraction is sort of a grouping of functions that you can kind of tear away from the rest of the application, and then you can start re-implementing it. But I would definitely think the first step would be to do this. So we want to go in our um, material service. So then that tells me, okay, do we even have material service? No. And I do like how I've started to do this. Three material. And I didn't realize until this project, but the nice thing about doing this, even if it's totally obvious that you're working on three stuff, is now I don't, when I look at this, I know, oh, okay, everything's three. I don't have to do like in that movie Inception. I don't have to like, oh, okay, what level am I at? Where am I? Where am I on the overall map? I can just see right here. Oh, um, the way everything is set up, I can tell where I'm at. You know, it's just like, yeah, there's all kinds of examples, but so we're gonna just call it material service, and I actually had to do a bit of a cognitive leap there. It wasn't a big deal because my brain is fresh and I feel awesome, but I had to do a bit of a cognitive leap to go, wait, okay, oh yeah, because it's only material service. This is a three material service. It's like I don't need to. When I read this, I don't need to do that. I'm like, oh, okay, it's a three material service, so I don't have to add that extra layer of cognitive load to do that. Um, like I noticed that like when Amazon Prime delivers um, packages, they often like they are, you could tell that they deliver so many packages. Those individual people are very strategic or tactical in their oh, avoiding as many hills, like climbing and declining and long driveways and things like that as possible because it's with a lot of time, even the simplest thing becomes difficult. And so when you're coding, even the simplest things can be difficult. So we want to, this is supposed to be our three material service. And then we want to get, okay, so I don't think we have a public dictionary or a public dictionary hash, public material. So now I'm like kind of thinking, okay, what's the best way for me to figure out how to do the public dictionary hash? Now, we'll say that in my personal experience, um, like it's as an individual human, you're probably going to have better like memory of how to do things by like reinventing the wheel at this point in time. But you're going to end up with like inconsistencies between implementations. So unfortunately, it's just a lot better just to come in and find another implementation and just sort of copy it. So this is where we set up our public dictionaries. So we decided to name it public. I don't remember exactly what that was. And so now this is not a geometry. And see this is one of the nicest things. I think there's a way that you can actually tell to change every instance of geometry to material. I think I generally avoid that because a lot of times there's just other things in there. So I will tend to do this. But what I used to do is I would come in here. This is what I used to do before. And I would just do that. And then I would type in material. And then I would copy this whole word material. And then I would click this button. And then I believe you can just hit, no. It used to it would actually highlight it. Like when you clicked it, it wouldn't just go there. It would actually like select it. It would bring it into focus, but it doesn't do that anymore. It looks like. Yeah, it looks like I have to manually. So, and it might have been a different ID too. That might just be this. I believe this is Material Dictionary. And so now we got to move our Material Dictionary up here because it cannot assign it if it hasn't happened yet. And that is like one of the weird things is like very early on coding, you'll learn that like the order that you do things is extremely important. And then once you hit a certain level, suddenly that whole order thing is no longer like something that you can count on anymore. Once everything starts going asynchronous, order suddenly becomes like just goes away, and it's weird. It's a very weird transition mentally. Probably one of the most difficult leaps that a young developer will have to make. All right, so all of that looks good. Looks like we've implemented this properly. Now we just need to import our writable signal, which I believe comes from core. And signal, I know, comes from core. And that was both of those. So all of this is clean. The IDE is no longer whining at us. And this is always, once I get to 3 things in here, this is when I always turn this vertical. And honestly, the only reason I do that is so that the chances of a git conflict go way down. It's just a habit I've picked up. It's served me well. And then I tend to just recently started kind of making all the lowercase ones first and then all the set uppercase ones second and putting these in alphabetical order. That's something I think anybody who speaks like Spanish or Italian or any of the tail-headed languages, tail-headed language? No, front-headed languages. Front-headed languages. Any of the languages where the first word is what it is, those people automatically, anyone who speaks those languages, so like Spanish and Italian, for example, those people tend to put everything in alphabetical order because it makes a lot of sense. But English speakers, since the last word is what we're doing, then we tend to not put things in alphabetical order because it just doesn't, it actually causes problems. It actually separates your useful information from each other. But for imports, it doesn't matter. So I put them in alphabetical order. All right, so now we have our hash, we have our dictionary. So I think we can go back. Well, I think what we need to do is then, let's go back. I don't even know what to do. Let's go to geometry service and figure out. Publish. So we have a publish. Looks like that, yeah. So looks like the next step is to create a publisher. So publish dictionary. So I'm just copying that whole thing and then hoping, having faith in myself that when I get over here, A, I'll be able to figure it out, and B, I'll be able to um, that last time I wrote code in such a way that it makes a lot of sense. And I'll tab now. So we create a dictionary JSON. So this dot material dictionary. So I'm able to do this because I stayed very consistent with how I did things before, and I don't know, yeah, it's not complaining about that. So basically, we create a string, and again, I try to say this every time that I do this, but um, I do not know this hashing functionality that I've built in here is very, very expensive. Um, this hash promise, then dictionary result, all that is extremely expensive. Do not know if it's going to be reasonable to do that in the future or not. All right, so we need the hash service. So I don't even have, that's crazy. Okay, so we're going to bring in the inject function from core, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to get an instance of it. So I think what I do is I go hash service colon hash service, and it's equal to inject hash service. All right, and that's how we get an instance of the singleton hash service. So singleton meaning that everybody shares it. Oh, we got some kind of problem. Got a problem. So it says material service. That's what we're working in. So that's good. Public geometry dictionary hash. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, that's right. So I brought in the service, but I just blindly copied and pasted this, and I'm going line by line. Okay, so I think all of this looks good. So we create a dictionary from our material dictionary. So that's our JSON. We stringify it. One of the things to keep in mind is that if there's ever a recursive within this material dictionary, if I ever have something that recurses back inside of there, this will break. So this is kind of good because I don't ever want to have that happen. Things get really wonky when that happens. Oh, they're done? Ready to go? They have keys to the car? No, I don't have them. All right, I'm gonna have to finish this up here in a second. I just got to get this code not to compile. Material, material, and material. And this is one of those things where you're coding and you don't really even know what you're doing, right? You just found some other code and now you're just tweaking stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to be aware that you're vulnerable at that point, right? Like something could slide in that you don't even understand because you're just blindly coding stuff. Well, so let's just make sure that this runs. Everything seems to be running. Let's see if we add one, add a viz. Yeah, everything's good. And that's because we haven't really made any changes on there. It's compiling and I have got to go. So hopefully tomorrow, I think now that I have the publish, I'll be able to easily um, update the um, 3 component with this data, right? So now I can actually come down here and I could actually grab that hash. Let me do that real quick. Const 3. If I didn't have as much in um, like in here, like I have 50 changes, right? If I didn't have so much going in there, I wouldn't be so worried because it'd be easy to come up to speed. But 3 material service dot public dictionary hash. So now anytime there's a change to that material hash, that material, anytime we add or delete anything, well, I think you have to publish first, but as long as it's been published, this will pick it up. And I don't think I'm actually calling publishes, so I'm gonna have to go back. So let's go back over here and just put myself in the spot. So we have our publish, but we probably need to say, anytime we create one, right, we want to publish. So this dot publish dictionary. All right, so now we do know that the hash will be changed, right? We're going to set the hash anytime we publish. And then, so that will be, so this service over here, this 3 table component will know that something changed. Now I'm not showing any rows for that or anything, there's just so many steps, and it's kind of crazy because like in my brain, those have all abstracted away, right? They've all abstracted away. But in my brain, all of that stuff is become like a bunch of tools, like a bunch of like little things. The row, like the whole task that we're trying to do, where we're trying to show all the ThreeJS stuff. Like there's a ton of steps that have to go in there, and I have to discover those steps every step of the way. And it's not going to be like there's only like 6 of them, right? So once they're done, they're done. And then maybe in a year we might add groups or some other ThreeJS thing or lights or something, but that they're going to be very one-off-ish. So there's not going to be a whole lot of value to like having some sort of abstraction because the problem is that one thing I have learned is that, and I don't know how to say this because I don't mean this in a negative way, but you can't. 3JS stuff is very inconsistent in a lot of the ways things are done. Like they're really done more of a 3JS. I think was more of a prescriptive as opposed no a descriptive more than prescriptive. I would imagine when it was first built, it's like they probably went to professional animation people and professional graphics people and then asked them how to do it, and then they coded what they said, what the professional said. So it's like it's they didn't go to the professionals and tell them how it was done. They asked the professionals and then they built it. So apparently whatever professional said camera people, they decided that they wanted the look at to not be something that's stored. Like, so when you create a camera and it moves, it just stays as is. But for spotlights, they have the exact opposite. You have to give it something to look at, and then it looks at that, right? Like there's an inconsistency there. Um, so that's why I had to divide out the two sides. Um, well, because of that, it's probably unlikely that once I start going through this whole process, that there won't be some funny little thing that needs to happen for one of them that's different than all the rest. And then so if I created like a deep abstraction and then we go like 4 months without touching it, and then we decide, oh, okay, now we're going to add this new thing. If we do that, then we're going to end up with um, issues with um, trying to take this very solid petrified abstraction that describes exactly how something is done and break it open and figure out how to shoehorn what we need in there. So I don't want to do that. I would rather just come up to speed again and figure it out and come back, and maybe a couple years from now, if we've done like 15 of these and they're all identical, then finally, fine, we'll break it. We'll petrify it. I guess that would be the best. Actually, I kind of wish they would say that. Actually, I love that phrase. I hope I don't forget to use it in the future. But basically, I don't know that we're normally abstracting things. I think what we're doing is we're petrifying things. We're petrifying a set of steps. So we've come up with a set of steps, and we think that these steps are always going to be the correct steps. So then we would like to petrify them so that they're exactly the same. We don't want them to be. We don't want them to be able to move around anymore. We want to lock them in, and that's that. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.